Hey, hello everyone and welcome to Extreme Graphics Tech. My name is Angelo and today I want to discuss with you everything about the AMD presentation that happened during Gamescom. In this presentation we got the new RX 7700 XT and RX 7800 XT. That's a mouthful for somebody who, the first language is not English. So we presented this, which is like the sort of mid-tier GPUs from AMD, since they already released the 7800 series and 7600. So they were missing in this regard, where Nvidia has been, having the 4060, 4060 Ti, and 4070, which honestly they are not quite interesting. And also we have now some more information about FS3, which is quite interesting, and some information about the game Starfield that they said. So let's start from the beginning and talk about the GPUs, okay? So the two GPUs they announced is the 7700 XT and 7800 XT, as I said, with the MSRP of $449 for the 77 and $499 for the 7800. To begin with, I have to say this part already feels weird to me. I have to say, I think the prices are not quite right. I think the 7800 should be a little bit cheaper, but even so, I don't think it's a bad price. However, the difference of only $50 between the 77 and the 78 seems weird. I don't know or think there is anyone out there with this little difference that is going to prefer the 7700 above the 7800 for just $50. You're going to give that. So AMD said the look and prices is not to make the 7800 looks better. There is this situation where some manufacturers create like the high level product and then another one under it that is a little bit cheaper, but to offer so much less that in comparison the high-end product looks so much attractive that they basically guide everyone to buy the high-end product. So in this case, I say this because the 7700 has 12 gigs of RAM, 192-bit memory bus, and 48 megabytes of Infinity Cache, and 54 compute units, while the 7800 has 60 compute units, which is not a big difference, it's true. However, it has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, so 4 more gigabytes. The memory bus is 256 bit. It has 64 megabytes of Infinity Cache, and the memory speed is higher because it goes up to 19.5 gigabytes per second compared to the 18 gigabits per second of the 7700 XT. So I'm quite confused about this pricing scheme that AMD is putting here. I think from my point of view, if you're going to buy any of these two cars, don't even consider 7700 because for $50 is absolutely not worth it. You should go to the 7800 XT. But before you go for it, wait for the reviews of the different tech channels that are going to have this day one. Unfortunately, I am not one of them, so I won't be able to be testing them unless I buy one, but I don't make any money, so I can. But if you want, you can be a member of this channel because memberships are open, because YouTube allows to have membership, but it's not publicity. So, well, you can do that if you want to help me. But in any case, this is the reality of those two launches. They promise to be, faster than a 4060 Ti, the 7700. So that's suppose is good thing, but we have to wait and see for how much. But they do accept that they are much slower in ray tracing. And this is important to remember because this is coming later in the video. So after this, they presented what is FSR3, which as we know is the frame generation version of AMD, which we already have on NVIDIA with DLSS 3. The important part here is that frame generation is coming in September and is going to be in two games, which is Forspoken and Immortals Aveus or something like that. I don't remember the name of the game, but those are the two games that are going to have it. They have not confirmed if Starfield is going to come with this technology. So FSR, as we know, 3 is going to be frame generation, which is generating frames between frames to give like a boost in performance, or give the sensation of a boost of performance without actually having to render the frames. The technology is going to be open source and is going to be able to be used by any vendors of GPU cards. These include Intel and Nvidia. However, they do recommend AMD to use it for the Series 5000 and up, and from Nvidia from the Series RTX 2000 and up. And I think the reason for that is not because it's not going to work on other series, but under the recommendations, they think FSR should be used only, FSR3 only when you are at least already hitting 60 FPS. So their objective is to take 60 FPS to over 100, not to take like 30 to 60 or to take 40 to over 60. But, you know, at the end of the day, it will depend on the quality of the frame generated, and we will be able to probably turn it on. I don't know. We are going to test this as soon as I can. I'm going to be testing this with like a 1060 or something very slow and with something faster, and see what sort of performance we achieve with this FSR3 generation. Because at the end of the day, remember, this is the CPU brings a big part of it. So that's quite interesting. And the fact that it's going to be open to everyone means that, you know, everybody can use it, and that's great because you are not limited as we are with the RTX 1000 and 2000. 2000 and 3000, and we know that the FS3 only works for RTX 4000 series. So let's see, this could be a game changer. Also, they announced that they are going to include FSR3 frame generation with any DirectX 11 and DirectX 12 title via drivers. That means that if you have, in this case it's only for AMD obviously, an AMD card, any game that is DirectX 11 or 12 is going to benefit from frame generation. However, and this is important to understand, it's not going to be the same frame generation that is they're going to be using when the game has the frame generation implemented. And the reason for that is because frame generation, the same as FSR or DLSS, they work by using the game motion vectors that allow them to understand the direction of the objects on a screen and the directions of where things are moving in order to predict the better quality frame for the next image. While because on the driver level you can have this information, so what they're doing is basically frame interpolation, that is the same thing, probably more advanced, but essentially the same thing that you can do on any TV when you turn motion forward, things like this. So they are going to be quite different, but it's still a quite interesting thing that I would like to test and see how it works, because in some cases, depending on the game, it can look quite decent. I think we have to see how much is going to affect lag and performance in terms of, we don't know if we are going to be able to, activate anti-reflex or other anti-lag technologies on vendors different from AMD. So all of these are questions that we will have to respond later, but this is interesting. Also, another thing to say is that while a frame generation is expected to arrive in September, the other technology, the one that is going to be working on a driver level, is not expected until next year. So there is quite a wait for that part there. However, having said all this, I would like to say one thing, that I am really disappointed at AMD, and I don't understand why they don't embrace, what they're good at without having to limit what they are not good at. What I mean by this is that yesterday, Ubisoft launched the Avatar trailer, where it shows the features that are going to be part of the PC game. Well, on PC we have much more power than consoles, so we have some features that consoles won't have. So yesterday, Ubisoft launched a trailer showcasing all of these features. Out of the most important for me is the fact that the game is going to include FSR2. And even though in the trailer they don't write it, when you go to the website, it's also mentioned DLSS. However, it doesn't mention DLSS 3 or for FSR3 either in any of these. Maybe it's going to be, but in the future, I don't know. However, the thing I want to bring up with this trailer is something that I have been seeing more and more happening on the AMD side. And you know that I love AMD card because I have recommended here. My most watched video in this channel is about 2 AMD cards. Okay, so the thing that worries me is that when you look at the ray tracing effects that are going to be part of the Avatar game, there is only 2: shadows and reflections. This is a little bit underwhelming, but it's okay. They don't need to put every single effect. That's okay. I wish there was something like global illumination or something like that, but okay, it's only reflections and shadow. That's perfectly fine. However, this game is sponsored by AMD, and if you see, every AMD sponsored game has the problem that they seem to limit the visual advance in graphics. What I mean by this is, to begin with, they said they came a communication saying that they do not block, that this was yesterday, they do not block, developers from including other upscale technologies like DLSS from their game. So if Bethesda want to include DLSS in Starfield, it's up to Bethesda. Which, 2-3 months ago, they were not answering this question. So I don't think that I think things change. What I mean by this is that I think that it was true before, and they may have changed, the way it works. So the contract or whatever, and now they are, they're putting the pressure on the developer, because it's not coincidence that 90% of games that AMD sponsor doesn't bring DLSS, while 75% of games that AMD sponsor don't have DLSS, while 90% of the games that have DLSS also have FSR. So there is something fishy going there. But also, the other problem for me is that every single sponsored AMD game that has ray tracing has a very poor quality and underwhelming ray tracing. This includes Resident Evil, this includes Jedi Survivor, this includes Forspoken, this includes, what's the other game? Far Cry, okay? And now, this includes Avatar. Because if you look at the Avatar video, you will see how the reflections are very grainy and noisy. They are not good at all. And I'm saying this because every game, and you can look at, except maybe for Callisto Protocol that has ray tracing and is sponsored by AMD, has a very underwhelming quality of ray tracing. And it seems that the reason for that is because AMD is afraid that if they put a very good quality level, or they allow to go, up and beyond in ray tracing terms, obviously they are going to be behind and be shown as bad. My point is that has been AMD's decision to be this bad in ray tracing, right? Which is not bad if they are charging the right prices for the product, because if I buy something and I know the ray tracing capabilities, it's not great. It doesn't mean I can use them, but it's just not as good as the competition. Well, it doesn't matter because you pay the right price for it, okay? It doesn't matter that, an NVIDIA guy with a 4090 is playing with better ray tracing while somebody with a 7900 XTX is playing with worse ray tracing, because each one of them know why they bought the car and each one of them know how much they pay. We're talking $600 difference. This other person obviously care more about ray tracing. But when AMD limits this sort of a ray tracing implementation just to not look as bad, all you're doing is, putting a break on graphic development. And you may say, oh, well, you're just talking, this is bullshit and so on. But come on, look, NVIDIA has released already fully path traced games like Portal, right? But it's not just that. We have a AAA game like Cyberpunk completely path traced. And the expansion is going to improve on this by the use of DLSS 3.5. And it's not just that. We have, during Gamescom, been told that Half-Life 2 is also being modded, remastered, remade right now to be fully path traced, and it looks spectacular. And on top of that, Alan Wake 2 is coming also on day one, a AAA game from a AAA studio, from a completely path traced. So it's crazy to think we are having AAA modern games in 2023 being released completely path traced, when 4 years ago we said this is going to take at least 10 years. This is going to take at least 15 years. No, it is here right now. And this is because NVIDIA is pushing. Now, I can say that, this is NVIDIA is a good company and always doing us a favor. No, I can't, because obviously the whole RTX 4000 series has been bad pricing and everything. But clearly they want to sell their products. Clearly they want to show the world that you can today play a path trace game, a AAA path trace game, even with a $300 card like the 4060 by using AI on everything and the frame generation and all of that, but you can't, right? And they are not afraid to allow AMD to do whatever the hell they want. But AMD seems the other way around. It's like, yeah, we are very good at raster, but they're kicking our asses on ray tracing. So please don't make a very big ray trace thing because we don't want to look bad in comparison. So yeah, just use some ray tracing here and there. Well, I think AMD should embrace the fact that they are the better maybe a raster and that they bring more memory. And maybe use features that use more memory, like better textures because you can. So embrace the things that make you good instead of trying to break the things you're not. Allow everyone to enjoy whatever they have. If I have an NVIDIA card which is better with ray tracing, well, allow me to use those features, but knowing that your textures are going to look better because I don't have enough memory to use them unless I have like a 4080 or a 4090 that costs much more than your cards. So you see, you have the better raster memory price ratio. So all of these things, I don't want to see the companies, putting brakes on development, putting brakes on innovation, putting brakes on better graphics. What I want them then is to show what they are better at, because that's how I think things should work. So anyway, this is my take on what we saw yesterday. If you agree or don't agree, just leave your comments on the box below. And as always, see you on the next video.